All right, joining us now, Alyssa Arbuckle, Multimedia Journalist with SuperTalk Mississippi News.
You waited for it this time, yeah.
You were bragging last week.
I thought I had it on. I pushed the button and nothing, and I was like, no!
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. All right. What you tracking these days, Alyssa? What's the news team working on?
We are working on, especially today, a lot of stuff in politics and a lot of Supreme Court stuff that we've been talking about. But on a state level, we've had a lot of stuff going on, too, not just on the U.S. Supreme Court side.
Yep.
Just yesterday, I believe, or maybe it was today. No, I think it was yesterday. U.S. District Court Judge Henry Wingate, he blocked Senate Bill 2343 from coming into effect. A lot of bills are going into effect today because today's July 1st. Or wait, no, tomorrow.
Tomorrow is,
sorry. I've got my dates mixed up.
No problem.
Anyway, a lot of bills are going into effect tomorrow. A lot of really important ones, which I'll talk about in a minute. But 2343 is one of the controversial bills. It is a joint bill kind of with House Bill 1020, which has also been highly debated. That's involved in a couple lawsuits. So that one hasn't been passed either. That one's still being held up. But 2343, it mostly defines the area of jurisdiction for Jackson's Capitol Police.
Yep.
It'll expand that. But the problem is not that part of it. The problem is with Wingate is that he believes that it might violate the First Amendment for people's right to protest, because inside of the bill is a clause that would require people who want to protest near state buildings, government-owned property, to let the Jackson police know and let their the law enforcement know before they're going to protest, and they have to get that approved.
I think you have to get permit. Yeah, have to get permission, right?
You have to let them know, and you have to have it approved before you can protest.
And I think it just applies to buildings within the city of Jackson, which is within the Capitol complex.
Yes, so that's why it goes hand in hand with the Capitol Police. I know that we've had Fillingane on, who is the author of the bill.
Senator Fillingane from Harrisburg area.
Fillingane, yes. And he's been on to talk about it before, and I remember hearing him say his reason for the bill is not to violate the First Amendment rights of people in Jackson, but to rather give the people who protest safety, security, and let the law enforcement know ahead of time how many people are going to be there. You know, how can we keep them safe? Just make sure that everything is fine. So those were his intentions of the bill. And Wingate has said, you know, despite your intentions of the bill, it might be considered unconstitutional.
Right.
So he's put a pause on that from taking into effect tomorrow. And so he'll go into it and figure out, you know, how constitutionally sound is that. So that one will probably not be going into effect tomorrow. But some really interesting bills from this past legislative session are going into effect tomorrow. You can see a full list on our website. We have a very extensive list of really interesting ones that are kind of odd.
And they need to subscribe to that SuperTalk Mississippi News newsletter.
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
Very
that'll be going out.
It's excellent. Yep.
That'll be going out today as well.
Yep.
So one of the interesting ones that I was following really closely that isn't really, you know, one of the big hard-hitting ones like teachers being able to have firearms in the room in their schools. I think the pecan theft is just really interesting.
Tell us about that.
So pecan farmers, people who have pecan trees, they will be able to prosecute people who end up taking their pecans that are on their land or next to a tree that is on their land. So, like, let's say that you're on, like, the interstate, you see, like, a fence, and there's a pecan tree, and you say, I'm just going to pull over on the interstate, just walk over and get some of the pecans that are on the other side of that fence. Well, it still might be an issue. You probably want to stay away from that.
It's stealing. You're stealing somebody's inventory.
Yes, but this is only through the pecan season, which is September 1st through January 31st. So if you see a pecan anywhere else during that time.
Even on private property?
Well, I don't know.
That'd be crazy.
That'd probably be weird if you
Yeah.
did that, but
Okay.
that's one of the ones that I think is just
It is.
interesting. You got the state fruit and the state gemstone. The state fruit is now going to be the blueberry. We haven't had a state fruit so far, so that's a pretty interesting development.
Right.
And the state gemstone, that is going to be the Mississippi opal. That's the one gemstone that only originates really in Mississippi.
I didn't know that.
That's pretty interesting.
Just enacted both of these bills, right, in the past
Yes.
session.
Yes, both of those were enacted. But some of the more interesting ones that you have, you've got EV direct sales of the dealerships. You can't have a dealership doing a direct sale
Right.
of an electric vehicle.
The manufacturer can't own the dealership.
Yes.
Right. Has to be a third party.
The only one in Mississippi is the Tesla in Brandon, and that will be grandfathered in.
Yep.
So that's the one and only so far that I know of personally that will still exist. But after tomorrow, we won't be able to have any more. Like I said, there's the arming teachers one that the Department of Education, they had to withdraw previous rules and regulations last year around this time regarding the ban on firearms, but it's because of a special carrying license that you can get in Mississippi that was passed in previous legislative sessions. And so now they basically said that they have to go through a program, and you can get members of, the staff to be able to get certified specifically to possess a gun on campus.
Okay.
And so you might be able to have a person on your campus now own and have a firearm, and is not just a security officer. Other things, fentanyl test strips. That has been considered paraphernalia so far. So you have not been able to get fentanyl test strips in Mississippi without it being a crime, and now you can, because they're trying to work on the fentanyl overdose epidemic that's been going across the whole country, and they figure, lawmakers believe that being able to test and see if some substance that you're taking has traces of fentanyl, it might be able to save lives.
Gotcha.
So that's been a really cool, important thing that I've followed through this entire past legislative session. You also have online sports betting, which creates a 11-member study committee. So we might be able to have sports betting in Mississippi in the future.
Couldn't get the bills through, so I think they just opted to create this group, this committee, to study the situation.
Yeah, so they'll go into it and look at how it would be in Mississippi, how they could implement it well, look at other states that have done the same thing, and then lawmakers can be able to use that information to possibly, in the future, have mobile sports or online sports betting in the state.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty interesting as well. There are a lot more that are going to go into effect. If you do want to see that full list, you can go on to supertalk.fm. That's really interesting. One thing that I'm excited about, not excited about, but really interested in, is that the Jackson's water manager, right now the interim third-party manager, Ted Hennepin, he has been the water manager. He's been the water manager since, I don't know, probably 7 months, I think November of 2022.
Last fall.
Yes. And so he's been able to do a lot of stuff with revamping the water system, making sure that the residents have clean water, that the breaks in the water lines are fixed, and doing so, and getting a lot more funds for more improvements. And now, yesterday, the Jackson City Council, they have voted 6-1 with Stokes voting against. They are going to take Ted Hennepin and put him over the sewer system as well, because there are over 200 areas that are
Big
having
problem.
a
lot of residents complain about smell. They know that there's raw sewage, just footsteps from their house.
Yes.
Honestly, their residents.
Yes. So there, right now, there's, according to what I've found, there's over 200 areas across the state, or not across the state. Oh my goodness, across
city.
Jackson, that are having issues where wastewater that's untreated has come out of the system and is just going into the environment,
Including the Pearl River.
Including the Pearl River, yes. And so it's been an issue for residents. They've had to go out in their streets, and they just have raw sewage in their streets in some
Ridiculous.
areas, and they want to be able to fix that. And Ted Hennepin, since he's been able to make sure that there aren't any more boil water notices for the past, year, or not, 6 months or so since Christmas. There haven't been many boil water notices since in Jackson.
I'm going to refrain saying what I'm thinking right now from saying it, by the way, with respect to the sewage in the streets. It's ridiculous, honestly.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, man, that was a whole bunch of information going on here in the state of Mississippi. Appreciate it, Alyssa.
Yeah,
Always
thank you so
appreciate the
much.
great work the SuperTalk Mississippi News team does. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we got Riders on the Storm by the Doors bumping us out. JT Mitchell's favorite. Coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.